We're 6 months into 2023, which means it's time for a mid-year book freakout tag. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Maya. Last year in 2022, I did a mid-year book freakout tag around the same time as right now, at the beginning of July, because that's what 6 months into a year is. And mid-year freakout tag is basically just like a mid-year wrap-up where you talk about the books that you've read so far this year and answer some bookish like tag questions. For example, the best book you read so far, the biggest disappointment. And at the end of this video, I'll also be showing you guys some of my storygraph stats. But anyways, let's just get started. So far this year I read 16 books. I know that's not a lot compared to other booktubers reading like 50 books, 60 books, 100 books, but I am just, I'd say I'm an average paced reader, maybe even a little bit slow paced for some other people, but in my opinion this is average. And I don't really have a goal for 2023. Last year I did a goal of 50 books and I did complete it, but I was stressing a little bit at the end of the year. So this year I decided not to do a goal, not to put pressure on myself, just to read because I want to read and not because I want to finish some sort of goal. But on Goodreads I still anyways did set a goal of 45 books, but if I don't finish that, I'm not gonna care at all. It's just like a, I don't know, it's just like a fake goal. Like, I don't really care about that goal, but I just set it for the sake of setting a goal. Anyways, first topic is best book I read so far. And I can just choose one, obviously. So a few of the best books that I read so far were Twin Crowns. Ta-da! And the cover is so beautiful. This is a young adult fantasy and it's very like cozy, like a cozy fantasy vibe. And also really fun and just, I feel like it's like the perfect YA fantasy book. It has everything you want in it and just the vibes it gives off is
YA fantasy.
It has dual POV between two sisters and the romances are awesome. The characters are awesome. The story and the plot. I really liked this book and had a really fun time with it. Another book that I really loved is Tokyo Ever After. This is about a girl who finds out that she's a princess of Japan. So she flies there. Her life basically changes. It's basically kind of like the Princess Diaries. And I love the Princess Diaries movies and I loved this book. It was really fun. Here it is, by the way. I just got it from my bookshelf. And I really like books where like a poor person turns into a rich person or like an average girl turns into a princess. And another best book or a really fun book that's like definitely on that list is Caraval. I read this recently. This is my last read, I'm pretty sure. Yep. And this was really fun. I think I gave it like a 4.5 stars. And I read a lot of books that I like, but just some of those books I really loved, but I just did not think about a lot. And this one I did think about it a lot after finishing it. And I do want to read the next books in the series soon. This is a very much whimsical, mysterious vibes, also Alice in Wonderland vibes. Next, best sequel you've read so far. Let me just get it. That would be Arch Enemies, which is book 2 of Renegade series, and it's by Marissa Mayer, and Marissa Mayer, need to say more, she's my favorite author. I really liked the second book. This is my favorite book in the series. Nova and Adrian are just,
they're just the best.
This is kind of like a superhero book and also sci-fi, or not really, I'm not sure. Dystopian, I think. But basically it's people that have superpowers and they save the world and they fall in love, and one of them is actually a villain and the other one is actually a good hero, and so it's kind of secret identities, and what could be better than that. And this is the second book, by the way. Awesome. Next is a new release you want to read. I have one right over here. I already own it, but I still haven't read it and I need to and want to. That is The Fall of the School for Good and Evil. Book 2. The first book is The Rise of the School for Good and Evil, but then also there's the School for Good and Evil series. If you want to read this whole world, then I'd recommend you start with the School for Good and Evil series. Even though this and Rise of School for Good and Evil are technically the prequels, I'd still suggest you read them after. And yeah, when I read the first book of this, my love reignited for the School for Good and Evil. School for Good and Evil was like one of my top favorite series, like my top favorite series basically from the first time I read it when I was like 12, I think. It's still high up there on that list. I love this series, really nostalgic to think about. So yeah, looking forward to reading the second book. And then also a new release that I haven't read yet is Cursed Crowns, which is book 2 of Twin Crowns. And yeah, but for some reason I'm not really wanting to read it. Like, I'd like to read it, sure, but I'm not like needing to read it, you know? So I don't know why, because I liked the first book, but yeah, I don't have an urge to read the second one. Next is an anticipated release. And my anticipated release for the second half of 2023 is With a Little Luck. This is kind of like a book too, but not really. Instant Karma, because in Instant Karma, the main character is this girl Prudence, and in With a Little Luck, the main character is her brother. And I'm really looking forward to reading that. This will be Marissa Mayer's second contemporary book, because she usually just writes fantasy. Now let's talk about my biggest disappointment, and that was War of Shadows by midyear. Is that how you pronounce her name? I don't know. This is the third book of The Sunken City. In The Sunken City, beginning half was kind of cringy, second half good, and then the second book, Found Witch, was really good. I loved it. And then I was really excited for War of Shadows, the third book, and I was disappointed. I think it was like a 2 stars for me on Goodreads or something. And now the biggest surprise was It's Boba Time for Pearly. This is a middle grade book, and I used to read lots of middle grade when I was a bit younger, but I'm now 16, and I kind of, over the years, I slowly switched to reading mainly YA, and I love young adult books, but I still do occasionally read middle grade books, and this was one of those instances where I picked up this book on my Kindle, and I actually surprisingly really liked it. I expected it just to be an average middle grade book, but I was actually pleasantly surprised. And I also love crocheting, and this talks about crocheting and talks about friendship and boba. I never tried boba in my life, but it's fun to read about how she goes to boba shops and crochets and hangs out with her friends. So yeah, this was a really fun little happy bubble of a book. And now a new favorites author, and that would be what is her name? Ashley Elston. She wrote 10 Blind Dates, and she wrote 10 Truths and a Lie. And I read 10 Truths and a Lie this year, and that's a series basically. And I loved 10 Blind Dates. I read it last year. And then I also loved 10 Truths and a Lie, which I read this year. So yeah, I picked up 10 Truths and a Dare like a month ago or something, and just from the first chapter, I already knew that I was going to love this book. She writes about She writes about the Messina family. It's like a series, and it's just so fun to read about this family. They're a big, loud family. This was really fun and a nice, chill read. And now, a new favorite character. That would be Nova from the Renegades series. She is just so cool. So yeah, she's definitely a new favorite character. And now, a book that made you cry. This is kind of hard because I usually don't cry where I'm supposed to cry and then cry where I'm not supposed to cry, if that makes sense. For example, there's a super sad part at the end of a book and everyone is sobbing and shedding tears. But during this part, I actually usually don't cry. Then during the parts that actually like are not sad whatsoever, or I don't know, just random parts, I'll just start crying for no reason, because there's just something in it that made me want to cry. So I don't know, but I think I might have shed a few tears in this series. Yeah, I think I might have, especially in the last couple of books, but it was only a few because I don't really cry a lot when I read. And that's funny because in real life I'll just start crying when I feel too many emotions. When I'm just like talking or arguing, the tears, they start rolling out. But when I'm reading extremely heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, sob-worthy books, I don't cry. Also, I think I shed a tear for Tokyo Dreaming. It was like a happy tear? I don't know, but like at the ending. And I think I might have shed a tear at the end of Caraval either, but not on the part, like dramatic part at the end, but like the aftermath where everything, I don't want to spoil, okay? The very end when something's already resolved and you're literally not expected to cry at all, but I did a tiny bit. Actually, maybe not even tear, just like a sniffle, and my eyes got watery. And that's actually how it is with most books. I usually don't cry, but my eyes might get watery. Now, a book that made me happy, obviously more than one book. Nearly every book that I read makes me happy during some part, but the top ones would probably be Tetris and Dare, and then also Tokyo Dreaming. The end of it made me really happy. Oh, this is book 2 of Tokyo Ever After, by the way. And then also in it, in the French Kiss. This was a reread. I read this originally in 2021, I'm pretty sure. The first time I read it, I loved it. It was like a 5 stars. Second time I read it, there was like some things that I didn't notice before, and I was like, that's kind of weird, it's kind of problematic. So I lowered my rating for this, but nonetheless, the vibes, the adventure, it still made me happy, because when I reread this year, I was really just craving like boarding school, studying abroad in some beautiful city. And so I reread this and it delivered. It made me really want to go travel. Now, the most beautiful book that I bought slash got, first one would be Twin Crowns. I mean, just look at this. That is just beautiful. Is there anything on the cover? No, the inside of the hardback is normal. This dust jacket is just gorgeous. And then another one would probably be Air Awakens. I love that art. It's so beautiful. This is a paperback, but that art, wow. And this is the back. And now the last little bookish tag thing is books I want to read by the end of this year. So there are obviously multiple, and most of these books I already own, but I still haven't read. So that's why I really want to finish them or read them by the end of 2023. First thing on the series is The Heroes of Olympus. I have the 5th anniversary box set, I'm pretty sure. Oh, 10th anniversary. Okay, well, here it is. I read Percy Jackson not too long ago, like last year, and I loved it. Annabeth and Percy are just amazing. Percy Jackson is just, it's amazing. It made me laugh so many times. I love a good laugh, and I was just laughing throughout the whole series basically. So I'm hoping this will be similar, but I haven't read it yet, but I really should soon. Next is Cursed by Marissa Mayer. This is the one Marissa Mayer book, the one published Marissa Mayer book that I have not read yet. And I want to be able to say I read every single Marissa Mayer book, and I actually do say that already, even though I haven't read this one book. This is the second book of Gilded, and the ending of Gilded, it was just a little bit, I don't know, it made me a little bit scared to read the next one, and kind of like, I don't know if I want to read it, but I pre-ordered it anyway a while ago, and I got it a while ago, but I still haven't read it, so we'll see if I read it this year. Another book I want to read is Shadow and Bone, the whole series, maybe even just the first book. I'd be happy with that if I managed to do that. This has been sitting on my shelf for like 2 years, or almost 2 years, and of course I have got to read The Fall of the School for Good and Evil. And over here I have like a little TBR stack that of books that like I got for my birthday, or just books that I haven't read yet, because this bookshelf is kind of full, if you haven't noticed. So I don't know what to do. I have like no space in my room for a third bookshelf, because I have this bookshelf behind me, and then I have that bookshelf over there. So I don't know where to fit a new bookshelf, so I don't know what to do. Anyways, another book that I really want to read before 2023 ends is Rebel of the Sands. Sounds so fun. I got this for my birthday. And then I also really want to read An Ember in the Ashes. Also got this for my birthday, and it looks so fun. And I like this size of paperback. Like, they're so giant, but they're so comfy to read, and just here's a normal paperback, here's this one. Then I also want to read Stellar Loon, which is book 9 of the Keeper of the Lost City series. I love Keeper of the Lost City series. Read it around the same time as I started reading A School for the Evil. So when I was 12, I think I started reading this series. Maybe 11. Love this series, definitely one of my top faves. Yeah, I still haven't read book 9, and it's been sitting on the shelf for a while. So I also kind of want to reread the whole series, but I know that'll take forever, but should I do it? Comment down below. And then, of course, Air Awakens. This sounds extremely fun, but it's also kind of like a long series. All of these are kind of like long series, the books I want to read. So if I like start reading this, I'm going to read the second book and the third book, and that's going to like delay the other books, which is why I haven't really started any of these, because they're all part of a long series. Next is The Hunger Games. I got this recently at Barnes & Noble, and I still have not read this extremely popular book, and also want to read the other books in the Caraval series because I want to, okay? I can do what I want. And the last one that's on my list is Shatter Me. I have had this on my shelf for like 2 years also, and I still haven't read it because I know that everyone loves this series, adores this series, and it has like 6 or 7 books in the series, I'm pretty sure. But I feel like if I start reading this, I'll immediately like devour the whole series. So I'm just kind of like saving it for later, you know, like you save a good dessert for later. I'm kind of like saving this, putting aside like, oh, I'll be back for you. I'm excited, but I'm saving it. So when I do read it, it better live up to the expectations, because my expectations for it are pretty high. Oh, my head hurts from talking. And we're back. Okay, so what do we stop on? Oh yes, my storygraph stats. I'll be looking at them over here. So first are the moods. Here are the moods. You can see that a big percent of it is lighthearted, because that's true. I like just chill books. And then after that, it's adventurous, because sometimes I like adventurous books. And then funny is also a big percent. As I said earlier in this video, that I love funny books. Hopeful, mysterious, emotional, tense, inspiring. So those are the moods. And now page number. Mostly I read books that have 300 to 499 pages. And then the smaller percent is 500 plus pages. But like usually nothing shorter than that. Next, fiction or nonfiction? 100% fiction. Actually though, I do read some nonfiction books. For example, about like self-love, self-help, or like financial stuff. But I usually just don't date my Goodreads on those or my storygraph because you guys follow me there and you guys probably aren't interested in seeing that. And usually I don't even finish this book, so I just like read a few pages, then come back a week later before bed and look at the table of contents, and then I go to the part that I need to read. Now genres, mostly young adult, obviously, and then after that romance, contemporary, and then fantasy, science fiction, middle grade, LGBT. I actually thought that I read more fantasy this year, but I guess I read more contemporary and romance. Really? I thought I read more fantasy. Now, most read authors are Marissa Mayer. I read 3 books from her, the Renegade series, and Emma Jean, 2 books, which is Tokyo Ever After and Tokyo Dreaming. And now, star ratings. My average star rating for books that I read was 4.05 stars. Yeah, usually books are just good, but they're not that great to receive a 5-star. And then number of books and pages. I don't really care about the pages part because the pages usually are wrong, calculated wrongly on Storygraph and Goodreads. But I read 2 books in January, 2 books in February, 4 books in March, 3 books in February, and 1 book in May, 4 books in July. And my overall profile is mainly reads fiction books that are adventurous, lighthearted, and emotional. Typically chooses medium-paced books that are 300 to 499 pages long. And that is that. So yeah, that was my mid-year book freakout tag. I hope you guys liked this wrap up of what the beginning half of 2023 looked like with reading for me. Follow me on Goodreads and Instagram, and all my other socials are down below. Bye! Subscribe!